Welcome to F1 Unhinged. I'm your co-host, Josh.
And I'm Tyler, and this is take 3.
At least.
Fuck you, Riverside.
You know, testing season hasn't even begun, and look at us already having reliability issues.
Unfortunately, we don't control the car that our podcast is hosted on, so
Neither does Ferrari. No, so
hey. Hey. I'm gonna be so mad if we have to cut this one too, because that was a perfect intro.
Yeah, it was. But, like, the good thing about new regulations is you can always count on Ferrari to disappoint in them.
Yes. But also Haas.
But Haas is a back marker. They're supposed to disappoint.
That's fair.
Ferrari is supposed to be a good team. And even when they get it right, they still manage to fail. You know, need I remind you that the largest statistical points comeback in history was Max Verstappen on Leclerc. Just saying.
True.
Just saying. Even if they get it, and that was the start of a new rules regulation. They got it right and then pissed away their entire future.
Yeah.
In a very...
But yeah.
Which, you know, I feel like Ferrari doesn't get shit on enough for that.
Are we starting the Ferrari shit train today?
You know what? Let's go ahead, because I'm in that mood. But think about it. Think if Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren now started out a new regulation far ahead of the field. So much that they're nearly 50 points ahead of their nearest rival. And not only do they choke away the championship that year, they never even come close again. Getting to the point where by the end of the regulations, they're going winless.
Yeah.
Actually, tell me we wouldn't be burying that team. Tell me if it was Red Bull or Mercedes or McLaren, we wouldn't be burying them.
Well, I mean,
every week talking about how people don't deserve jobs at that team. Why does Ferrari get away with it?
We lived that shared experience because we're Clevelanders and we have to deal with the Browns. So we understand it. We just don't like it. Because not to turn this into an NFL thing. I don't follow the NFL that much, but we fired Stefanski, but didn't fire Andrew Berry at the same time. Are you kidding me? I rest my case.
But at no point were they in first.
No, but
and around the league, everyone shits on them. Why is Ferrari getting a pass for possibly the biggest fall off in this rules era? They started the rules era dominating. And by the end of it,
heritage.
Just more Ferrari bullshit.
Yeah. But that's not my excuse. That's just what I'm putting out there. That's their thing, is their legacy is what's most important. Unfortunately, by not addressing proper changes, they are literally ruining their legacy.
Well, unless they learn how to make their sustainable fuel copium, I think they're in trouble. Because all we ever hear out of the prancing horses is a bunch of excuses and, oh, we're going to have a bold rebuild this year, and then their bold rebuild somehow boldly fails everything. Here's the thing. Maybe the reason why Haas is so inconsistent is because they use so much of Ferrari's parts. Maybe Haas is actually a good team, and once they start using more Toyota stuff, Haas will actually be doing good. Maybe this whole time Haas hasn't been dog shit. It's been the fact that they have such a close alliance with Ferrari that they can't be consistent.
Nah, I'm still gonna stay on the train that Gene Haas sucks, and they would suck regardless.
But Gene Haas
He's a cheap
isn't
motherfucker.
involved. Gene Haas is not structurally involved.
He runs the bankroll though, so he's in control of what they spend.
But not really, because the bankroll is decided by their sponsors. That's the platform they set up when they brought MoneyGram in. Their bankroll is whatever they can bring in sponsorship, which they've been doing a really good job of for the first time they've had a surplus. Maybe the fact that they're streaky and they're really good one year and really bad the next year actually isn't as much of the management of the company. It's how badly Ferrari fuck up their parts, because they use so much of Ferrari parts. Maybe the reason why they had a good year this year is because this is the furthest separated they've ever been from Ferrari as far as what they make versus what Ferrari makes. Maybe that's the reason Haas started rebounding.
Do we know if Haas has access to the current Ferrari engine?
Yes. That is so. That was kind of the genius of Gene Haas. Or, well, not really Gene Haas, because Gene Haas wasn't involved.
We've talked about this. So
more the
Haas
genius
is
of
the only
Gunther.
Team. Yeah.
Well,
because they have access
anymore.
to the current engine.
So basically, when the new rules, when the new regulations came, that kind of changed a lot of things, because year-old engines really didn't matter, because the engine had to be the same every year. When they announced the rule change, everything was frozen on the engines. And now it's kind of common practice to have the same year engine. But when Haas came in, nobody did that. Everyone always had a year-old version of the engine. And that is where Gunther's importance came in, because he negotiated a deal with Domenicali to get the same year engine from Ferrari. And
we've touched on that.
And Haas finished in the points their very first race because of being that smart with their alliance.
Before we continue on the Ferrari shit train, have you seen Gunther's podcast?
Yes.
It's glorious.
You know, I get a lot of respect from Gunther for reading his book, because I really didn't understand why the situation with Haas went so badly at the end, and why he ended up, ending in court issues with Gene. And then I understood that, that's Gunther's team. Gunther built that from the ground up before Haas was ever a thing. Haas just became the person who financed it when other things fell through.
Yep.
And now I understand why Gunther was really pissed that he couldn't get a percentage of ownership for it when they were negotiating the new contract, and why he just walked instead. I get that now, because he built that team.
Yeah. But to go back, like, his podcast, glorious, absolutely glorious. Like, that's everything that Drive to Survive is missing now, is the Gunther, like, tidbits, the sheer Gunther lashing out.
But I think people forget some of the history of Gunther. Like, Gunther was with Red Bull at the beginning. He was the guy who Adrian Newey came in and replaced when they were able to convince Newey to move over. But that was originally his job. So you have to credit Gunther for why in their inaugural season Red Bull outscored Jaguar, because he's the one who was building that car when it was transitioning from that Jaguar program. Because a lot of what raced that year was the Jaguar car adapted to Red Bull, and that was Gene. Or not Gene, goddamn. That was Gunther. And I think people sometimes forget that Red Bull connection with Gunther. He was very instrumental into the original building blocks of that program. And then Adrian Newey came in and did the Adrian Newey thing. Which, I don't know if you've seen some of the Honda rumors.
I haven't, actually. For some reason, my feed has completely just eliminated F1 on all social media platforms, and it makes no sense.
There is some internal worry about the Honda engine. And it basically goes to the fact that when they decided to cut their F1 program originally, a lot of their top talent was then bought out by Red Bull for Red Bull powertrains because they were still going to be using the Honda engine. This is before Red Bull decided to build their own engine. And then when Red Bull decided to build their own engine, they knew they were still going to be doing the Honda thing until then. So they hired a bunch of the Honda staff to build their engines going forward. What that means is Honda basically cut an entire F1 program, gave up some of the best talent in that program, and has now had to start from ground zero to rebuild. And there's a lot of rumors coming out now that they're behind, that they're very behind. And that's not good for Aston.
No, not at all.
Because as we saw with the Renault cars, Adrian Newey can build a great car, but not if it doesn't have a good engine. And these engines matter. And
way more than they used to.
Yeah, we're going back to pre-ground effect eras where the engine is vitally important. And if Aston spends all the money that they have spent on all the talent that they got to run at the back, that's going to be a disaster.
100%. 100%.
Like, think of all the talent they bought for that team. And if, plus all the physical things that they've done, upgraded simulators, wind tunnels, all this stuff, if they have spent hundreds of millions to be at the back, it's going to be a disaster. And Honda is going to look like the dumbest team on planet Earth because they left a championship team to run at the back of the pack because they were indecisive about their future. I still think Honda abandoning Red Bull was one of the dumbest moves a company could make. You were winning, you were about to win a championship, and you pull out of the sport. Then this team goes on this incredible run in your engine. You're like, oh shit, maybe we don't get out of the sport. But too late. By then, they had already decided to build their own engine. Like, Honda's fumble with Red Bull is going to be historically bad.
It's going to be in textbooks.
And I'm going to love all of it. Because that situation pissed me off when it happened. Ooh, I was angry at Honda when that happened. Thought we were going to be back to running Renault engines for a minute.
So, let's transition to a team that might not be so bad this year. We haven't seen the looks of the vehicle. It was completely blacked out, but that Audi engine sounded amazing.
Oh, it was nice to hear a new car. On track, not just some stupid-ass audio posted online, but just a nice little flyby of a car down a straightaway, sounding kind of like a hypercar. I mean, obviously, it is completely impossible to tell in some cold weather private test whether anything actually matters. And it doesn't. But it's just nice to hear a new engine, how it's going to sound. Wasn't even really running in anger. But boy, was it nice to just see a car on track and hear it and know that we're not all that far off from the closed door test.
I mean, I don't necessarily care about the livery of the car per se. What I care most about is how it sounds. Audi being the first car that we hear for the new regs is awesome, but my God, it sounded so good. It sounds so good. And you hear the pops and the crackles, and it's
I think that's the only thing I'm sad about for Cadillac not making their own engine for a couple more years is, oh my God, the Cadillac hypercar. Oh, that thing just sounds like brute force power. And I can only imagine how good the F1 engine is going to sound too, because they'll be kind of similar systems. And I wish they were running that already so I could hear that. What I'm really excited about, what I really hope for, is I hope there's different engine notes the way that there used to be. You know, back in 2016, 2017, that era, different cars sounded different. And that was exciting. You could hear the difference between the Mercedes, the Renault, the Honda, the Ferrari. The Honda mostly because it came with sound of fire extinguishers, but poor Fernando Alonso. Poor Fernando Alonso. Oh. Also, Fernando Alonso's got to be having flashbacks right now. Because
for sure.
This looks like McLaren all over again for him. Honda coming in with an engine they're not prepared for, and this incredible project looking like it might be an epic disaster. And Alonso has to be like, how did this happen to me again? I thought I escaped Honda I thought I escaped Honda by going to Aston Martin. No, now I got to deal with this shit again.
I mean, he did his due diligence and put out there that if the car sucks, he's out. So,
well, I mean, at his age, what's the point of holding on if you're gonna run at the back of the field?
Yeah,
like especially with his abilities, like he can go anywhere and do anything. He's a winner in several series, including multiple endurance series. Like, not a whole lot of point in holding on forever.
Yeah.
We do have...
Yeah, I think
some excitement about the Audi project. I feel like we both have some excitement about it. Me, curiosity, you as a fan of Audi, and I think me just out of curiosity of what they're going to bring, because they're another team with a lot of previous endurance experience. Granted, they pulled out with never really accomplishing what they wanted to, but they at least have that experience, which will help them in these energy systems. And the idea that we get 2 new engine manufacturers this year is kind of awesome. We get 2 brand new engine manufacturers. It has been a very, very, very long time since that's happened, and an even longer time since it wasn't just somebody who left coming back.
Yeah.
And
honestly, that could shake up the field in a few years to come.
Yeah, it could be a dramatic thing, because nobody's really going to know until we get on track who's actually got it right. This is also going to be one of the biggest toss-ups in F1 history, because there's so many things changing. Everything's changing. Everything. There's no DRS anymore. There's an overtake system now. There's active aero. There's a new suspension system. The cars are shorter. The cars are lighter. The fuel has changed. The tires have changed. About the only damn thing that's the same on the car is the halo. And even that's had some alterations to fit the new size.
I'm more speaking from the, like, we have 2 new engine manufacturers on the grid now, and in a few years, they could also be engine suppliers as well, shaking up the grid.
Yeah, and Mercedes has already talked about lessening their program to be supplying less engines going forward, which the way the F1 rules work is if you can't set an agreement with somebody, then the team that supplies the least amount of people is forced to supply you. Currently, that would be Audi, which could be interesting. I have a concept for you because we've been talking a lot about this team for a while. McLaren, Zach Brown, has been pissing people off lately. He has decided that with the absence of Helmut Marko, he's going to take up that role and be the one who just constantly spouts bullshit for little to no reason other than to hear himself talk. If Mercedes has to cut a customer, who do you think's first? James Vowles?
No.
Toto's friend?
No. Maybe it's McLaren.
Yeah, maybe Alpine once if Christian does buy into it, but him and Toto have always had a friendly rivalry.
Yeah.
They have respect for each other, not in a way that Zach Brown and either of them are. I could see McLaren being the first one cut. So then would McLaren then have to take an engine from Audi?
That would be insane. Because, okay, so let me put it this way.
Or even crazier, the only other team who would supply as few teams as Audi does in a couple years would be Cadillac. No, because Ford technically supplies 2 teams.
You're right.
Ford wouldn't be. Ford already supplies 2, so it would go to a team that only supplies 1. Currently, that's Audi, and then 2029, 2030, whenever Cadillac's engine comes in, then it would be either them or Audi. I don't know how they decide between the two of them which one would take it on.
Okay. I'm thinking 3-4 years in advance. And if we're still doing this podcast for 3 and 4 years, I want us to, in that episode that we talk about it in, cut back to this moment. So future Tyler, remember this. That's not going to happen. But what if that's a long game plan? What? Okay, so because Zach Brown's from the U.S.
Okay, but also what you're not considering is that there could even be other crazier options. Because who just entered F1 as a sponsor
that
has been upping their involvement in a team? Toyota.
I don't know, man.
There is not a lot to say that Toyota won't decide to start making an engine.
I get it.
Do you think Toyota likes their team being associated with Ferrari? Probably not, because who does Toyota compete against in the World Endurance Championship? They have an intense rivalry with Ferrari.
But don't they also have McLarens in the same class?
No. McLaren doesn't have a hypercar yet. McLaren's hypercar won't come on board for a couple years.
Is that's not the P? No, the P1's a like a P1's not a wet car.
P1s don't
so.
exist anymore. P1s are what the hypercar class was before they were the hypercar class.
Well, McLaren has a P1. So, but that's
not it. No.
Okay.
Yeah, McLaren's hypercar won't come on board. I think 2027. Them and Ford are both making hypercars. Ford with the assistance of Red Bull, further strengthening the partnership that they built there. I imagine it's going to be kind of a version of what they did with the RB17. I imagine it'll be kind of like a playoff that, which is also beautiful.
To cut you off real quick because it's important we're talking about the RB17. Did you see the video where somebody went in the factory and they ran the RB17 engine on a dyno? That car.
Adrian knew he cooked on that one. You know you cooked when you get fired and they still let you be a part of it.
Yeah. That RB17, oh my goodness.
When you have to think, he also built the Aston Martin Valkyrie.
He did.
That was him.
Yeah. And they tested it in the same facility. Yeah. They built it in the same facility.
So, I mean, obviously they know what they're doing for hypercars, so that Ford hypercar might be good. But my point being, Toyota are already doing things. Toyota and Endurance Series chase their name. They're not Toyota Gazoo Racing anymore. They are Toyota Racing. They are further deepening themselves in. They're bringing Toyota Academy guys into the Haas fold. How long will it be till Toyota decides, screw this Ferrari engine, we're going to make a Toyota? Then is McLaren going to get stuck running a Toyota engine?
That would be worse than running a fucking Cadillac
Because I know
engine.
McLaren's not going to build their own engine. They don't have the expertise.
No.
They don't.
No.
Zach Brown is not that kind of leader. He's not. He's a mouth and someone who drags in sponsors. He's not. I think the problem Zach Brown's going to run into is by helping force Christian Horner out, he got rid of the only guy who didn't make him look like a dinosaur. Because nearly every other team principal now outside of Toto Wolff, who has kind of scaled back his role in some ways, is a technical guy.
Yeah.
It's not the
They're engineers.
Yeah, it's not the piranhas that it used to be. This isn't the F1 of 20 years ago where it's all this loud sniping, fighting, all this stuff. That which is, you know, the era that Christian Horner was great in because he was one of those people. But you have now seen the way F1 is changing. They're even in McLaren's own team, I think Stella and Zach Brown are going to become a problem for each other. And I mean, you look at some of the teams who are having the most success in the paddock. James Vowles. Look at what he's done. Quiet, understated engineer. The change Lauren Mekies has led at Red Bull and did at Racing Bulls. Jonathan Wheatley coming in at Sauber, now Audi. You are having a lot of these smart, technical-minded guys who don't spend time shit-talking and creating problems. That's going to become the norm, and more Zach Brown sticking out like a sore thumb. And the sore part of that is very relevant because that's kind of how he sounds all the time. And I think 5 years ago you didn't notice. And now it's really loud because he's the only kid in the corner screaming and crying while everybody else is acting like an adult. And
100% agree.
I have to agree with some other stuff that I've heard, like, you're the champion. Act like it. Especially all the stuff you said about Christian Horner, which valid, not valid, whatever you think, whatever your points on Christian Horner. The fact is, Zach Brown spent 2 years doing everything he could to run Christian Horner out of F1 and succeeded, only then to become just as bad. and then admit in interviews that he did it on purpose as a way to destabilize people. And I'm just,
which could be considered to be a defamation lawsuit, technically.
and it just makes me lose. Not that I had all that much respect for him to begin with, because I think the way McLaren was handled this year was such an amateurish bullshit operation. And if you had a better team principal in that role, if you gave James Vowles McLaren, Max Verstappen is eliminated from the championship before we get out of Europe. And that's just fact. If you put Jonathan Wheatley in control of that team, Max never claws back in that championship. Max clawed his way back in the championship because Zach Brown doesn't know how to manage a team.
Can I just go on record for a second? Because I'm the staple of McLaren fan in this podcast here. Surprisingly not wearing any McLaren garb today. But I've never liked Zach Brown. I don't like McLaren because of Zach Brown. I don't like McLaren for the leadership that McLaren has. I like McLaren for the drivers that they have. I think Zach Brown's a giant piece of shit. In the same likes of George Russell. I also just don't like George Russell. But George Russell, I could root for George Russell way quicker than I would root for Zach Brown.
I also think McLaren has an identity crisis. And do you remember at the beginning of the year why everybody actually hates Liam Lawson? It's because of McLaren. Because he called out McLaren for using the British anthem and the British flag. Because McLaren is not a British brand. Bruce McLaren, he's from down under, buddy. He's from New Zealand.
Yep. Truth.
So you're using a British flag, Bahraini money, and an American CEO. To me, they have an identity crisis. They don't know what they are anymore. They act like a punchy underdog team funded by oil money with a really cocky, brash front person. And I just feel like they're a fall waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Like we're watching the Titanic leave port.
Well, yeah, because now they not only did they win the Drivers' Championship, they won the Constructors' Championship 2 years in a row. They got both championships this last season. Now is the time where it hits the iceberg. And it might not be this season. It might not be next season. It'll be, I would assume it'll be 2028 before the iceberg actually hits them. But if things don't change... You can
also be in a situation where... How loyal is Oscar going to be if things go downhill?
Not loyal at all. Not at all. He definitely can't go back to Alpine, but...
Yeah, you know where he's going to be able to go in 2 years?
Red Bull.
That seat Max Verstappen vacates at Red Bull.
Yep.
2026, Max has 3 seasons that he's supposed to run until his contract's over. 2026, 2027, 2028. Do we really think if McLaren's bad, Oscar stays?
For the same goodwill, note, though,
what goodwill have they built up with him? They built up some with Lando, but they didn't build up any goodwill with Oscar.
No, they trashed him. Trashed him.
it's I can see a lot of disaster scenarios. McLaren is almost a team that feels like it has to win just to keep itself together. And I think that's a dangerous place to be in coming into new regulations, because you feel like quite a few teams are stable going forward. You know, Mercedes seem to know basically where they are. Ferrari is Ferrari. We've already talked about that. Audi has a long-term plan. Cadillac look like they have a long-term plan. That's why they brought in 2 veteran drivers to see through, you know, the difficult phases. Red Bull knows that they're in a long-term program because they're building their own engine. So if they don't get immediate success, it's not the end of the world. Everyone involved understands the project. Williams understand their rebuild, and they've already seen some fruits of that labor. So if they have a little bit of a rough year, it's not going to be the end of the world. Alpine is already for sale, basically. So that is what it is in that scenario. But Alpine doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things anyway. McLaren, if McLaren gets off to a bad start, with as much has been said and as much has been done, I can just see that team falling apart the way Red Bull did. You know, Red Bull had a similar demeanor, and when they started losing, they hemorrhaged their best people. There's a famous photo of Max Verstappen with his championship, and he's the only one left from the team in that photo.
Yeah.
That's what happens when successful teams start losing, especially when you have brash personalities running things. The moment it stops working is the moment your investors and the people in the boardroom start getting unhappy, and the outspoken person is usually the first one to go. Ask Christian.
What do you think about Lando potentially leaving McLaren?
I feel like there's more built-in will with him from McLaren, because, I mean, they did everything they could to make sure he was the champion. They got him one. They can't say that for Oscar. And while, yes, some of that is Oscar's own fault, there's quite a few races you could look back to as where positions could have been swapped and would have been if it was the other way around. And it wasn't. Shit, I was just watching Japan the other day, and I completely forgot that there was a point at the end of that race where Oscar was faster than Lando and asked him to be let by, and they were just like, nope. That could have affected the champ. You know, when you lose a championship, you look back at all those little things, and you're like, that could have been different. That could have been different, especially if you don't have one. You don't hear Max doing that because Max has 4. He's good. He's happy. Oscar doesn't have one yet. And that might have been his best chance to get one. He'll be thinking about that all winter. And if McLaren gets off to a bad start and all of a sudden it looks like they're not going to have that chance again, his contract isn't quite as secure as Lando's. And I can see situations in which he's out.
Did you watch that F1 Day in the Life with Oscar video that I mentioned last week?
I watched about half of it. Then my cats interrupted, and I never got back to the rest of it because cats be doing interrupting stuff.
Speaking of cats, my cat hasn't been a guest host for a while now, surprisingly.
Yeah, you moved everything, and now the cat's like, yeah, no. Mine is.
I'm in the same spot. I just decorated things differently. Obviously, my background looks less like a basement.
My cat's currently sniffing my sim rig where I keep my feet because my cat.
That sounds accurate.
My cat has an obsession with my stinky ass feet, and you do you, kitty. You do you. Purring over there, sniffing sweaty feet.
So yeah, to round out that topic, Red Bull unveils their new car on the 15th, so that's Thursday.
Along with Racing Bulls, that'll be done together as a big show.
And then there's one on the 19th, I think.
Are we finally... I want to see what you think. I know my opinion on this. Are we finally getting a new Red Bull livery?
No.
I'm going with yes. I think there will be a new Red Bull livery. Because of the engine partner change.
No, okay, so let me ask you this.
New paint, new finish, new design.
So
a new design.
Not primarily black?
Well, technically it's dark blue, just matte finish so it looks a lot darker. I think we're going back to shiny. I think we're going back to the shiny Red Bull.
So kind of what Racing Bulls has been the last several years.
Kind of like what Red Bull was in their original championship era with Vettel. Where the car was a little bit shinier. It wasn't that matte finish. I think we're getting away from the matte finish Red Bull with Ford. I'm probably going to be wrong.
I was going to say, are you willing to put money on that?
Abso-fucking-lutely not. Because they could also just decide to make Racing Bulls the super colorful car and keep the same damn look for the Red Bull car. I'm not going to lie, I'll be furious. I will be furious if they don't change the Red Bull car. Don't get me wrong. I love the Red Bull design. I love it. I think it is one of the cleanest designs. But you have to incorporate Ford in there. I want the lighter blue for Ford. My ideal would be closer to the Red Bull can blue. That's closer to the Ford blue. Like, go with the Ford blue, the Red Bull red. You have a
yellow.
Nice... Yeah. You have a nice combination of there. That's what I would like to see. I hope that's what happens.
I don't. I
think the exciting thing this year is the carbon cars go away, because now there's a certain amount of your car that has to be painted no matter what, and can't be just fucking carbon black everywhere. So I love that. The cars actually have to have color this year in these new regs.
Or they just paint them black.
Awesome.
So
no, they have to be color. There has to be color.
Black is a color.
Technically, black is the absence of color. All right, now I'm just being a smart ass.
Well, you are, but also you're not wrong. But also, they literally could just paint the carbon parts that were carbon black.
Might be what Mercedes does. Though I think Mercedes will probably do what they've been doing and do the half black, half silver design to acknowledge both eras.
If there's one team that's probably not going to change their colors or any livery at all, it's going to be Ferrari.
Well, yeah, Ferrari's going to be red. Some form of red.
It's going to be primarily red, but then what are they going to... Because, it was red with carbon fiber. So now what are they going to do? It's going to be red, black painted? Are they going to be
or
red?
Just red?
They're not going to do white.
They might because of HP.
Oh, that would be terrible.
It's Ferrari.
Well,
HP's They're probably going to do something terrible.
HP's blue. HP's blue, so...
HP likes their designs
red,
to be
white, and blue?
That's what they ran? Do you not remember the ugly-ass livery they've been running with the white chunk with the blue HP logo on it?
Yeah, but that was
They're
a smaller
probably
section
do
of
that
the car.
again.
But that was a smaller section, so now they have to make it a bigger section, and it's just going to look like a Tifosi American flag.
It's Ferrari. If you can guarantee one thing, they're gonna fuck something up.
Well,
what's
we
Ferrari
covered
gonna do when they
basically all of our-
lose Lewis and Charles? What are they gonna do then? When it's
shit the bed.
Behrman and I don't even know who their next driver up from Behrman would be. They don't really have anyone that sticks out horribly.
They would probably go for Lando at that point.
Yeah, because the only thing worse than Zach Brown is anything in Maranello.
Well, you got to think, though.
That's like going from fucked to fucked more.
For Lando, yes. But for them, that would be probably their next achievable driver. Max will be exiting. Lewis is probably already exited at that point. If
Lewis might be gone after this year.
Yeah. So at that point, and Charles might not be there anymore at that point. So like,
he's already shopping around.
Like Gasly? Are they gonna what are they gonna do for Gasly? Or
pretty much all they have is Behrman.
Yeah, I would say, I honestly would say Behrman for sure, because I saw rumor and speculation about Behrman
Ferrari
going to
Academy
Ferrari.
has a lot of people, so I'm sure they could. But you're also going through the problem where, and this is what I'm talking about with the Haas Toyota thing, is Ferrari have counted on teams to run their young drivers for them, but they're losing all those allowances. Sauber's gone because they're Audi. Haas is Toyota, and they're only wanting one Ferrari driver now, and the other will be, whatever they choose to do. And that one guy is Behrman, the guy who we already know is going to Ferrari. So they're not going to if you lose Leclerc and Hamilton in the same season, what are you going to do?
And McLaren ain't going to give up Lando before his contract, so...
Maybe Oscar goes there?
I would hate that so much. Oh, I would boycott so hard. I would boycott so hard. Way to end your career, Oscar. Come on.
Gonna end up with Lawson in a Ferrari by the end of this.
Oh, I'd be pissed too. The only one thing that would make me light things on fire, literally, is if Daniel Ricciardo came back for Ferrari.
I don't think Daniel's coming back at all.
No, but I'm saying that's the one thing that would make me light things on fire. Is if Danny Rick came back and joined Ferrari, I would light things on fire. I love Danny Rick. I don't enjoy Ferrari. So
the one thing I will always disagree with that seems to be common knowledge, and it's one of the things Seb said, is everyone's a Ferrari fan, even if you don't know it. And let me tell you, not everybody. No. I've had a hatred of Ferrari for a long time. I grew up with the history of Ford against Ferrari in a family that was very into Ford as a company and as cars. I grew up working on Ford cars, especially Mustangs and things of that nature. Growing up in that culture, you hate Ferrari. Ferrari is the enemy. Ford is building a hypercar because Ferrari won Le Mans.
That makes sense. I will say, I didn't, it's not that I hate Ferrari. I hate what they did this season. I would always root for Ferrari because I like Charles Leclerc. But after the season, knowing what they did to Lewis Hamilton's career, And in the upper levels of Ferrari, not the team principal, not the engineers, not that stuff. Like, I'm talking about the executives of Ferrari. I don't want to support Ferrari anymore because that is just terrible.
But that's also the history of Ferrari. The Ford program in endurance racing was built off of Ferrari's arrogance of insulting them in a partnership deal. Lamborghini started as a company because the creator of Lamborghini was insulted by Ferrari. So he made Lamborghini to prove his point and beat them. Ferrari has a history of thinking they are the greatest thing on earth, no matter whether things matter. And I will always have a hatred for Ferrari because their big boy boss was willing to kill as many people as he had to build a fast car. And that is a big crux of the Ford versus Ferrari thing, is guys like Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles absolutely hated Ferrari for the danger that they purposely put drivers in, because they viewed their drivers as test subjects for their ideas and not as human beings. And that culture of Ferrari has never changed. There are not many people who leave Ferrari with good memories of being at Ferrari, even if you were a great driver at Ferrari. Look at the way they handled Seb Vettel. Look at the way they've handled Lewis. Look at the way they handled Kimi Räikkönen on his way out. Ferrari has had legends that they have treated poorly. And at some point, all that karma comes home to roost, and now they're dealing with it. And they have this top-level management that just refuses to listen to anything that's outside of their echo chamber. And we thought that hiring Fred Vasseur was the way around that, because he is such a well-respected guy and a very straight shooter. But he's even had a bunch of issues with Ferrari management, because despite no proof of concept, they think that they know better than everybody else. And look, the fact is, there's an energy drinks company who's won 8 drivers' championships since you've won 1. That's not acceptable. True. If you're Ferrari. You know, other companies aside, Ferrari let an energy drinks company destroy them. The biggest lead lost in the history of F1 is Ferrari losing to an energy drinks company. I don't care what level you look at that. Yes, we know Red Bull is much more than that, and but on the surface level, Ferrari can't build a car as good as an energy drink company can. And until you fix that, I don't give 2 shits what top level Ferrari thinks, because they're wrong. They have yet to show me they actually know what they're doing. And when you have Max Verstappen coming out and saying it makes him sad to see what's become of Lewis Hamilton's legacy under Ferrari, his biggest rival, the personal rivals at times. And he's over here like, it's really sad to see this happen because he's such a great driver, and what his career has been, you don't want to see it end this way at Ferrari. Even as me, like, I feel bad for Lewis Hamilton. That used to be my favorite team's biggest rival. And now I'm over here like, damn, I'd like to see Lewis win something. This is horrible.
I'd love to see Lewis leave Ferrari before the season starts and join a better team.
Like, you realize we could be in a situation where we never see Lewis Hamilton win a race for Ferrari.
We could be in a situation where Lewis Hamilton never gets a win for the end of his career.
Yeah. It is a very legit possibility Lewis Hamilton never wins a race in his time at Ferrari. And that's Ferrari's fault.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Leclerc's out there winning races either. And they have
Also
no
true.
excuse because they have the budget. And I don't understand why the F1 community doesn't give them as much crap as they give teams like Aston Martin for underperforming when Ferrari has the budget, resources, and history. This shouldn't be the case.
Well, we're at about time now, but before we end, I found out that Ford vs. Ferrari, the movie, is on Netflix. Would you recommend watching?
Absolutely.
Okay.
First off, just looking at the cast, you know it's a good movie. And for the most part, it's pretty historically accurate.
Okay. Because I haven't seen it yet. But I'm going to watch that tonight, actually, after we get off the pod.
Bale does a great job playing Ken Miles. He really does a great job of being Ken Miles. Damon does a decent job of being Carroll Shelby. They get the important parts right. It's still a movie, but they get the important stuff right. Obviously,
better or worse than F1 the movie?
Oh, way, way, way better. Ford vs. Ferrari is probably one of my top 5 racing movies. Because the things they change aren't things that matter. They make the Daytona 24-hour victory seem closer than it was. That's the worst of it.
I'm going to date us a little bit. Did you ever watch Days of Thunder?
Oh, of course.
So how would you compare Ford vs. Ferrari to Days of Thunder?
Well, it's hard to compare because one's based on real events.
That's fair.
But I love Ford vs. Ferrari. It's one of my favorite movies. Obviously, I have a lot in the history of that, so there's a personal pull to that. The Ford vs. Ferrari history is, something I grew up with, so it's something I'm deep into. But as someone who really loves the subject, I like the movie. So I feel like that does say something is like, if you're really in love with the subject, like the F1 movie. The reason I hate the F1 movie is because I love F1 so much, and the movie is bullshit to what actual F1 is. Ford vs. Ferrari is not that. They do a very good job of staying realistic, and the things that they change are not anything that obscures the actual story. They keep all the elements there that are important for telling the story. And that's what matters. And they do a good job of, to me, rightfully pumping up the legacy of Ken Miles, who I think is one of the most underappreciated drivers in history. And anything that pumps up his legacy a little bit and shows people how incredible of a driver he was and just his knowledge in general, I approve of, because I really do think he is one of the more underrated people in motorsports history for what he helped Carroll Shelby build in that Ford program and what he did before then. So, yeah, 10 out of 10, I recommend it. It's one of my favorite racing movies of all time.
Deal. I'll watch it tonight.
Hell yeah. My cat
I think
agrees.
that's I think that's where we'll call it a show today.
Yep. And yeah, next week we'll have seen a car. We'll know what the Red Bull looks like.
Car.
Yeah. We'll know what the Red Bull looks like by next spot. Is there?
I think Monday night or the day. I think the 17th. There's another team. It's either the 17th or the 19th. So it's either Saturday or Monday that another team announces.
Well, if it's Saturday, we'll have seen it by the podcast. If it's Monday, we will have not. So, but for sure, we will have seen the Red Bull and the Racing Bulls by next week's pod. So we'll be able to talk about that. As always, thanks everyone for tuning in to F1 Unhinged. I've been Josh.
I'm Tyler.
Thanks everyone so much for tuning in.